All right, good morning once again, people. Bob here, back ready to break down Bitcoin. Let's get right down to it. So far, I think probably the biggest thing that we'll take away from today is that, at least as of right now, this parabola is holding up very nicely. It looked like there was some feasibility this thing would come down through here and into these levels. So far, has not done that. And in fact, as of right now, we're putting in a green candle on the day. Assuming things hold up here and it doesn't just reverse on its face, which is still a feasibility as well, then this thing probably does come up in here and tap this thing today. Maybe even up just above it. I still have some level of concern, and we'll zoom in on the shorter term time frames that we're going to get a fake out here and then kind of reverse course. But as long as we don't, again, this thing is ready to roll. I mean, we're gonna look for a fairly large pop here coming up in the next few days, assuming this thing stays the course. Again, I can see it just kind of popping up in here today, selling off, and then stringing together some green days before finally just popping out of there. But as of right now, I mean, this looks good on the daily, especially. Let's see. Weekly chart, again, same concept. We were talking about this. Hopefully we were just going to find a bottom right here that would act as support. So far, so good. Again, MACD histogram, MACD. I mean, all this stuff prepping to happen on the weekly from the look of it. That's a beautiful thing. Let's just get right down to the shorter term time frames. I'll keep this actually short today. So I do have, I've kind of been looking out for bullish fake outs here. This one looked like it was going to be an exceptionally significant one, and then basically it reversed course, came down, double bottomed in here. So now really what we're looking for, now this was a break of this pattern. So even here, this was the measured move already, but now we've got this little double bottom in here that we can maybe say, all right, well, if we find support right up here, our next level up's $24,050 basically. So potentially another $600 tacked on to where the price is at now. As of right this moment, this candle looks fairly problematic, actually, though. That it kind of looks like it's capping out right here, but it's very early in the 4-hour candle. So take a look at the hourly and see if it suggests that we're going to continue to the upside, or if we might pull on back. This one's kind of tough looking at this guy. I mean, we got all these moving averages here that should act as resistance, and they kind of are. I mean, the price action's been unable to break above and hold them over the last, say, 24 hours. This guy right here, this is tough pattern-wise. I could say that the pattern's here. I could say it's here. I could say it's several different things as far as where it actually is. What I see here is a great deal of volume coming in as it exits this location right here. So my guess is that I've probably got it accurate right here. But then again, like I said, just to account for it, we'll go ahead and drop another trend line right there. And now it's at kind of that upper boundary there. I figure if we can come out, ideally it just finds support, say like here, 23,300, and then bounces from there. But even if it came all the way back to about 23.1, so 23.3 probably would be the most ideal location, 23,250-ish. 23.4 even really would be more ideal. But again, even if it comes back down here, taps and goes, then we're still in pretty good shape there. And we've got a lot of volume coming in, so there are buyers. I'd say kind of looking at this, we do have some sort of rounding taking place, but now we're, if I drop another trend line here, you can see we are kind of maxing out the move. It's fairly close already. And again, I would say that it probably finds its way up to here, really darn close to it. Again, based on this double bottom concept. Doesn't put in a higher high here, so you do have to be careful that this thing doesn't come up here and just roll right on over. But as of right now, it's not. So until it does, we will assume that it continues to stay within this. essentially this pattern right here, and just continues marching up to the upside a little bit. And it probably, I mean, you know, at the very least, I would expect it should fill in that wick a little bit. But we'll zoom in on the even shorter term time frames here and get a better feel for it. But yeah, again, this 4 hour, this is not really. And now this one's off compared to the other ones, so this is interesting. But yeah, I mean, ideally this thing doesn't look like this by the time that 4 hour candle closes. That maybe it comes back again, taps down here, and goes and puts in another fat green candle like this one. And there are some indications here, suggestion that could happen. Same concept here. We've got a little bit of a rounding here, or if you want to do it this way, you know, we've actually got a little bit of this whole thing itself is a little bit of a rounded bottom pattern, which haven't really seen Bitcoin do too many of these recently that actually worked out positively. So if this one does, again, same concept, we're looking something here to here. Measured move's probably about the same. You know, it takes us right up to this 24K region, and at which point you'd probably look for, you know, some sort of drawdown, because that doesn't put us in a higher high than here. But again, just kind of looking everything over here, there is at least some indication that this upside could continue, and really it might involve Bitcoin first coming back down a little bit further, but we'll see. MACD histogram starting to curl to the upside. I'm not too worried about a bearish divergence at the moment, just because of the nature of it. That even though this high maybe isn't necessarily much higher than these ones, there's nothing in here that's vastly different to suggest that this is problematic. And then again, we just tap down here, pop, go. Looks like a beautiful opportunity there. But yeah, but there are definitely some positives here. And then again, that parabola, for now at least, is holding up. The larger scale one, basically right here. So I mean, we're right there at the precipice. The concern, and I'll just say concern for the sake of lack of a better term for the moment, but the concern I would have here is simply that what ends up happening is we get a third attempt to clear this and we don't, and then it does come back down into here. That's the only way that any of this really changes for me mentally, is that if we come up here and make another attempt to put in a higher high and we fail that attempt, then that would not bode very well. And again, the other thing is too, I try to keep in mind, we've got a 200 moving average down here, which it hasn't been touched since, at this point, July 26th, about a week ago, and it's going to need to come back down and find support there again at some point. So again, the question becomes, do we get this pop, which will help drag this up, and then we don't necessarily have to come back down as far, or does it just keep going? I mean, does the support of these shorter term moving averages suffice to give us the next push to the upside? And that's ultimately going to be the question at this point. I mentioned this yesterday. I'm kind of almost half looking at this as kind of an oversold bounce kind of an aspect. It didn't get to oversold levels, which is, Jesus, the first time in a long time it didn't have to get down to oversold in order to start pushing back to the upside. But I'm kind of looking at it from that standpoint, just because, again, the bulls want to defend these levels like we talked about. So they're kind of they're forcing the price up hard, and then it's naturally going to come back down a little bit to retest before it could potentially go up again. But that's just what an oversold bounce is, right? It gives you some positive movement, but not necessarily momentum per se. So we'll see if this thing ends up being positive. Right now, with this thing curled over like that, it's feasible that this ends up being a red candle throughout, and then the next candle is the one we look for as the potential pop to the upside again. So we'll just have to see. We'll have to see. I was impressed, though, that the bulls put in this double bottom here. To be frank, I did not expect that to happen. I was expecting some further downside again, if nothing else, to get back to this 200 simple. But I think now I could say that at least at the moment, again, this thing could still reverse on its head, but as long as it does not, then it's, you know, the price is going to bounce, try to clear this level again, and then if it does not, then that's when we're going to look down here. Even if it clears it, and just to explain this part, even if this price comes up here and it clears this, if the indicator suggests that it shouldn't have gotten that high, it's still feasible to come back down. But either way, the 200 simple on the 4 hour will have been dragged higher, which is really all we're looking for. Because we want to hit that again. We just would prefer not to hit it down here. So let's hope for the best on that part. But again, if Bitcoin is going to dump out, I fully expect that if it was to do anything that does not involve coming to the upside right now, that it comes and spills out here and then just absolutely roasts off this level and just flies back to the upside. And essentially that'll fake out all the bulls, and then the bulls will, you know, the strongest hands will be down here buying, and then boom, off we go. So we'll see. You know, 21.6 again, I think is still a good number to put a little bit in on, assuming that this level here does not hold up. Real short-term time frames, and we'll wrap this up today. Yeah, I mean, you can see here. So Bitcoin, it'd been flirting with this level for the past, you know, day or two. Finally kind of cracked it, but, you know, it fell right back into it. Thus, you assume that it will continue inside of the pattern until it breaks back out. You know, at that point, you're looking maybe down into this region potentially for a retracement. And again, if it flips on its head, it could just come running right back out of here. And here's another level we could look for. So we're going to see what happens. I mean, this is, you know, again, the level of sustained bullishness out of Bitcoin has been actually rather pleasant to see. Just throwing that out there, it's been fairly pleasant. So we're going to hope and, you know, and expect that we're going to continue to see big things out of Bitcoin here. And let's go ahead and break above this level next. Let's break back above here, put in a retest. Let's break above here, and then, like I said, let's look for trying to get a new high. And if we don't get it, all right, then we can start looking to come back into this range or even down here. But yeah, all in all, I think there's some very positive things to be taken from all of this. And then let's go ahead, while we're sitting here, let's go ahead and extend this out just a little bit further. You know, interesting thing here is if you look inside of this falling channel here, Bitcoin has cleared the midpoint of that channel. And this, again, is a very logical target all the way up here. I know it would sound crazy, but pushing something all the way up to about 28,000 is totally logical at this point, assuming, again, everything else goes accordingly and we don't simply lose these levels after we make another attempt and fail here. Now, this would be over the course of a few days. Don't assume that just if we make an attempt today and it fails that it's suddenly going to come crashing down for sure. This would simply be a scenario where we'd say, all right, can we hold this over a daily candle? You know, on a 4 hour, 8 hour basis. I don't expect it to come up here and just immediately hold. So we'll see. But yeah, looking positive out here. Parabola holds up. Man, this thing's going to get real exciting real fast. And I'm looking forward to it. I hope everybody enjoyed. We appreciate you, and we'll talk soon.